So before we begin the rest of Pirkey Avos and learn the Mishnayos, we have to understand a little bit more about the importance of the Mesorah. The Mesorah means the transfer, the transmission of the, not just the written Torah, but the Torah Shabbal Peh, the oral Torah, the spoken Torah, from Moshe Rabbeinu to us. Moshe got the Torah at Har Sinai. Moshe Kibel Torah Sinai. This is how the Mishnah Pirkei Avos is going to begin. Mesorah Yehoshua, he gave it over to Yehoshua. And then Yehoshua the Zekaynim, gave it to the next group of people, the Zekaynim, the elders. We're going to speak about who they were and what they did in the next video. And then from the Zekaynim to the Nevi'im, and from the Nevi'im, Mesorah Anshe Knesses Agdola. We're going to talk about who these people were and what they did. But right now, first let's explain what it means to give over the Torah, the Mesorah. What does that mean? So there's two ways of getting property from a father, from an ancestor. One is called a Yerusha. A Yerusha is an inheritance. To get an inheritance, like Torah Tzivalon Moshe Merosha Kehilos Yaakov, to get an inheritance like that, all you have to do is be born. And for the person before you to die, you inherit something. Mesorah is much different. Mesorah is responsibility like a relay race. A relay race is where somebody takes this thing, is called a baton, and hands it to the person in front of him. So his job is to take something and then give it to the next person. Mesorah is the Torah that is taken from the previous generation and then given to the next. Moshe took the Torah, he kibel Torah, he got the Torah from Hashem at Har Sinai, and then he gave it to Yehoshua. And Yehoshua gave it to the Zekaynim and so on. Generation till generation until today. That's the Mesorah. Now, a relay race team, I don't know if you could read this, it's kind of small. Relay race team always has to figure out who the best runner is at each stage of the race. So that's why when we go through the Mishnah, you'll see that Moshe could have given the Mesorah to anybody, but he picked Yehoshua. Yehoshua was the best runner on that team at that time of the race. For all of Klal Yisrael, he was the best person at that point. And then Yehoshua gave it to the Zekaynim, and the Zekaynim to the Nevi'im, and so on. They were the best runners, so to speak, for the race, for each stage of the race, depending on the situation in history. Today, we have to make ourselves good runners. There's no one particular person that's the person that's getting the Mesorah. We each have to make ourselves the best people for the Mesorah. Now, one thing about a relay race, passing the baton is not easy. This technique, I looked into it. There's something called an up sweep to pass the baton. There's a down sweep to pass the baton. You can't just run the race. You can really want to run your race, and you could be a fast runner, and you could be in good condition, and you could still lose and not even finish the race if you don't have good technique in handing off the baton. We have to learn how to learn and how to teach Torah in order to take and give the Mesorah. The taking of the Mesorah and the giving the Mesorah is a really important part of the race, of our religion. You can't just run the race. Passing the baton is not easy. Like I said, there's technique. So you don't want to drop it. You got to be careful. Drop that baton like that. Whoa, that's not fun at all. Remember, you have a responsibility to take the Mesorah. You hold on to it while you run, and you make sure you hand it off cleanly to the next runner. The race is over if you drop it or stop running. Even if you're not handing it off, you just stop running. Losing is not a good thing in a race, but it would be a disaster, chas v'sholom, with the Mesorah. So we have to be very careful with this. A relay race, by the way, let's go to the next slide. It looks to somebody who doesn't know what's going on, like somebody chasing somebody else with the stick just to hit them. You know what's going on? A bunch of people chasing each other with sticks are going to slap each other around. What's going on? So the Mesorah to some people may look like a bad thing. You're getting the Torah. What is this? You're making me, I can't eat this, and I can't do that, and I can't do this. All these things, I got to study Torah for so many hours. You have to understand that our Mesorah is a great gift and a great opportunity. Keeping the Torah makes us happy and will give us schar and olam haba. It's a big deal. Now here's a picture of somebody that was running a race. Oops, let's go back. It says here, dog joins race and wins. There's a story where a person was running in a race, in a track meet, in a relay race, and a dog broke loose from the owner and started chasing the person. And it chased down the person and it beat the person to the finish line. The dog was faster. Dog seems to be just having fun. The dog didn't know what's going on, just likes running. And the dog finished first. But one thing you have to keep in mind, the dog didn't really join the race and the dog didn't really win. It just looked like it. You know why? The main thing is the dog didn't have a baton. Look at that. We may seem to be competing against a lot of runners, but they're all in different races. Only our race, only we have the baton, the Torah. And these other people are just running for silly things. Remember, we said that there was a rabbi named Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana, and that he would say a special tefillah every day when he went into the base medrash, and every day when he left. And one of the things he said when he left the base medrash is, "Ani rotz v'heim rotzim." I run and they run, but I run to a life of olam haba, and they run to a pit of destruction. So there's a lot of people running in that race, but this one was just a dog without a baton, and didn't. It was not going to win. It doesn't matter how fast it ran, having fun, but it didn't win. The dog, and you should know, the dog, everybody was cheering for that dog until the dog at the last minute crossed in front of the real runner in the race, the real person that was going to win. And it almost tripped the boy and almost tripped the racer. If we let everybody play with us, then life can seem like fun and games, but until we're reminded, hey, we're tripping. We might fall. Everything's very serious. We can't play games. This is a real race. We can't run with the dog. We have to concentrate on winning our race. And this is a picture of somebody who actually fell in a race. He's okay. This picture, this man was considered the fastest man in the world, one of the best runners ever. And in his last race, he fell and hurt himself. His name was Usain Bolt. And he was considered like one of the greatest racers of all time. Now when he fell, he had already won a lot of races. But what about somebody who may have gotten injured at the start of his career? Oh, that would have been a different thing. We don't know when our careers will end or how. We always have to be concentrating on making sure we're running a good race. Let's continue. This is a case of take a look at how the baton is passed from one runner to the next. If you see that the guy who is getting the baton doesn't even look really behind him. He holds out his hand and he has to trust the person behind him to give him the baton. You have to trust the people behind you in a relay race. You can't see what the guy's giving you. How do you know you can trust him? What if he's giving you a hot potato? What if he's giving you something that is What if the person gives you a hot potato and oh, Gaval, you dropped everything. The whole race is over. So how do you know you can trust him? Because he is your teammate. He wants you to win too. You have to trust the people that came before you. And that's the way we have with the Mesorah too. How do we know we can trust them? Because they're on our team. They want the best for us. They're our fathers. They're our teachers. Besides that, think about it. Where would the guy in the race have gotten, let's say, a hot potato or something to give to the guy in front of him? Where would he have gotten that? He's in the starting the race. This whole time, he's holding a baton. If he comes along with something like that, it must have been he was holding it too. His hand would have been burned also. There's no way he could have had that. So when we have to understand that we have this Mesorah for so long, that all these people in front of us, all these people for the past years and years and years, since Moshe got the Torah at Har Sinai, had something bad, they would have been destroyed a long time ago. We must be having something very good. All the other religions, Chas v'shalom, they don't have a Mesorah like we do. And you see how horrible their mitos are and the things that they do are. We can look at that later. It's a long conversation. Let's go to the next point. Teamwork. What if you really want to win? And like we said before, let's say the guy gives you a hot potato, or the guy's not a good teammate. The teammate decides to just ignore the rules and how to hand off the baton. He doesn't want to give it to him, or he just wants to, he throws it to somebody else on the next team instead. We have a responsibility to each other and to our children to do a good job with Hashem's gift to us. It's a special gift. We have to be very careful with the Mesorah. It's a very important thing. And we'll see that this is one of the ideas here of Pirkey Avot, how to act in a special way with this Mesorah. And we have to also understand that these things that we're learning are also from Moshe Rabbeinu, from Hashem at Har Sinai. We might think, what's from the Torah is all about the halachos of Shabbos and Yom Tov and these things. But how to behave, everybody behaves. Lots of religions have behavior, or they say things like what we do, they behave well. And this is what we're saying, no. Our Torah has different ways of behaving. The way the Torah says to behave, it might sound similar and sometimes to what other religions do, but no. Our Mesorah comes directly from Hashem at Har Sinai. And we're going to see as we learn Pirkei Avos, there's a big difference. You may not notice it right away until you study it, but there's a big difference. Okay, so we're going to go to the next Mishnah. And with this introduction, hopefully we'll be able to start making a lot of progress here.